Do you have a favorite feature to use in here?
Yeah,
Something that you
it's
think is very cool?
check this out.
Wow.
So that's pretty neat.
Hi guys, welcome back. Today we talk about, we're gonna go deeper into the legalization states and stuff. But before we do that, a big thing came out yesterday about harm reduction sites, safe consumption sites, safe injection sites, whatever you want to call them. We finally heard some stuff from the Biden administration on how their stance is looking towards that whole thing. A little recap, there was a safe consumption site that was opening up in Philadelphia. The Trump administration ended it with a court case, or stopped it with a court case. They then just recently tried to petition to the US Supreme Court to get them to hear their case. They said no, so it's now back down to a lower federal court. God, it's amazing how much these things jump around. They're now at a lower federal court, and because of that, the Justice Department has to convene and basically say their stance on it next week. So we're gonna hear what the Justice Department thinks about these consumption sites next week. But yesterday we got an interview with the Human and Health Services Secretary. I believe that's what it is, Human and Health Services Secretary. He has come out in favor of these consumption sites, or basically in favor of anything harm reduction for fentanyl and for, heroin that is really killing people at a pretty alarming rate because of fentanyl. And one of those things is the safe consumption sites. He's basically saying, yes, we should try everything. We should allow these states to pursue harm reduction services, and that being safe consumption sites. And this is what he exactly said.
In an interview with NPR, Becerra suggested his department might be open to one of the most controversial harm reduction ideas, creation of safe consumption sites. Those are locations proposed in New York City, Philadelphia, and other communities where people might use illegal drugs under some kind of supervision to minimize the risk of overdose.
We're not going to say, but you can't do these other types of supervised consumption programs that you think work, or that evidence shows work.
Now the HHS actually came out and said after this that the ball is not in their court, the ball is in the Justice Department's court. So it's up to them to really kind of allow it to happen. But this is the Biden administration, and the Justice Department is also kind of part of the Biden administration, even though it's supposed to be more separate. So it's looking good. It's looking like we'll at least get a hands-off approach from the Justice Department, and we'll hear that next week. So we could start seeing these safe consumption sites open up in major cities, especially in Philadelphia or New York City, and that's overall a very good thing. Okay, so on Monday we talked about some states that could potentially be legalizing within the next year or so, and we just listed a few, and now we're gonna take a deeper dive into these states and see where exactly they are and what things are looking like in those states. And there are quite a few that are just like on the road somewhere. I guess every state is really on the road somewhere, but let's talk about a few. So first up is Delaware. They have already approved a bill that would legalize in the state. The problem that happens that I think at this point it's almost bipartisan to be for legal marijuana, but the problem happens when it comes down to the social equity part of this legalization. And so they kind of hit a stalemate between the Republicans and the Democrats with the social equity part of the bill. They delayed it, and there's going to be a substitute bill that comes out next year. However, again, legalization itself was passed in the state, so it's looking good that will pass again. They just need to kind of figure out the social equity parts. Next is Oklahoma. Some initiatives have been filed for the 2022 election, and that's where we're going to see a lot of legalization happen in the 2022 election. So Oklahoma is the first state that for sure is going to have that on the ballot, and when it's on the ballot, it means it's going to pass. So probably Oklahoma will have adult use by the end of next year. They have an interesting situation where their medical marijuana business or licensing system is pretty free market, and they're probably going to do the same thing with legalization. It's just very, very laissez-faire, which we don't see with any other states. So it will be interesting to see that in the adult use in Oklahoma and see how that compares with other states and stuff. All right, next up, Mississippi. They're nowhere near adult use, but medical marijuana was approved by voters in November 2020, and they are are in a weird spot because the state Supreme Court overturned it from some it wasn't like single issue enough, I think, on the ballot or whatever. They're in this awkward limbo where the voters themselves want medical marijuana and the government is not giving it to them. However, they are trying to get it done. The governor is trying to, is basically, I think, has a bill on his desk, and we're just kind of awaiting an announcement from him for medical marijuana in Mississippi. So that could even happen this year. But for sure, by the end of next year, we're gonna see that in Mississippi. Then we have Maryland and Ohio, which are both in similar situations. They're both trying to get adult use on the ballot for November. It looks like Maryland certainly will. Ohio has a long road to get there. They need about 250,000 signatures in order to get it on the ballot, but they probably can. I think there's a lot of momentum in Ohio. So Maryland and Ohio, if they get it on the ballot, it'll be good. They'll be set. But they still have a little work to get there. Then we have Pennsylvania, which has a whole bunch of different bills popping up all over the place. We have a bipartisan bill in the House. We have the GOP Senator Reagan, who is a GOP senator, and he has his own legal marijuana bill, which is newsworthy just because he is a Republican. It has no social equity or anything like that, but it's still legal marijuana. They have quite a few things, they have quite a few avenues popping up, so we should see those kind of coalesce by the end of next year or sometime early next year. We'll see. Rhode Island will probably get it very soon, adult use. They have a bill just like ready to go, but it didn't make it in their session. And so we're waiting for a special session this fall for them to kind of pop it up because they had budget problems that they needed to deal with. So Rhode Island will certainly get adult use probably this year, not even next year. And then the last one is Nebraska, and they have a tricky road to get to. It's not adult use, it would be medical. Their governor is really intense. Their governor specifically said once that marijuana is killing our children. So he is very anti-marijuana, and the only way to get that to happen in the state is if if it gets on the ballot and the voters vote for it. And so they're working really, really hard to get it on the ballot. There's one advocacy group, what is it called? Nebraskans for Medical Marijuana, that have been gathering votes, and they need 250,000 signatures. Sorry, not votes. They've been gathering signatures, and they need 250,000 of them to get it on the ballot. And if it does, then we should see it happen. I don't really know about Nebraska. Nebraska's kind of a strange little state. However, it has Omaha, it has Lincoln, it has hip little parts of it that would probably be for marijuana. So we'll see. And that's the last of them. That's a good amount. There are other states that are kind of close, and if they get anything on the ballot, things are looking good. But for now, those are the states. That's a good chunk of states right there. So we could see things flipping in the favor of marijuana just next year. And that's all we have today. We'll probably be back tomorrow with more stories. So see you then.